What's up, everybody? So I just watched probably one of the greatest fights that I've seen all year, if not the best fight. I know the year just started, but that one's going to be hard to beat. And that was the Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde fight. Now, if you watched any of my old videos or any of my videos so far, you know that I'm pretty high on Artur Beterbiev. I know he's 38 years old, but the man hits like a ton of bricks. He's tough as nails. He has a great boxing IQ. He has great ring generalship. He's a pretty overall fantastic fighter. Like, a lot of people say that he's limited. A lot of people say that, you know, he's just a come forward fighter. Basically, they say the same thing about Artur Beterbiev as they say about someone like Virgil Ortiz Jr. or Earl Spence Jr. You know, they'll say, oh, they're just come forward fighters. You know, they're not that great. They're not that special. But Artur Beterbiev today in this fight showed you why he was special. And also Anthony Yarde showed you that this man is also an incredible fighter as well. All right, so Anthony Yarde, he did get beat by knockout to Sergey Kovalev in a fight where I think that he was winning pretty. He was being very competitive. He could have possibly won that fight if it wasn't for the knockout. And in this fight, it seemed to be more even. Although if it were to go to the scorecards, I would say that I would still believe that Artur Beterbiev would have won, but it's just like Anthony Yarde, he's also tough as nails. He also came into this fight being a very big, strong puncher. At the beginning of the fight, you saw that he was using a lot of movement. He was trying to dip in and out. He was trying to make sure that he wasn't getting caught up on the ropes against Artur Beterbiev, because everyone who's ever seen Artur Beterbiev fight, if you get caught on those ropes, he's going to lack those hard, sharp, fast, powerful combinations out on you, and he's pretty much just going to beat the shit out of you. There's really not much that you can do about it if you get on the ropes. And I think in the beginning of the fight, Anthony Yarde was doing an incredible job of just using his speed, using his quickness, getting in, getting out, making sure he wasn't staying on the ropes too long. And it showed that he was having a lot of success in those earlier rounds. Now, Artur Beterbiev, being the man that he is, being someone with over 300 amateur fights, being someone who has 18 knockouts, you know, championship experience, he was accustomed to this. He's pretty much seen every type of boxing style. He's pretty much fought every type of boxer at this point. So he was aware of how he could use his subtle movement, how he could use that hard, stiff jab, how he could use those crisp combinations, how he could start going to the body to really start to break down Anthony Yarde. And once, you know, Anthony Yarde started to break down, he knew that at some point he was going to be able to get Anthony Yarde onto those ropes. And once he got Anthony Yarde onto those ropes, it would be good night Irene. But to Anthony Yarde's credit, this man is also a powerful puncher. He was also someone who was very tenacious in the ring. So anytime Artur Beterbiev started to weigh in, started to well on Anthony Yarde would come back with some good, strong counter punches and get Anthony Yarde off of him. And get Artur Beterbiev off of him. I saw several times where Artur Beterbiev was throwing out that stick, that really strong jab, and Anthony Yarde would come in with a sharp counter left, or he would come in with a hard shot to the body. And there were several times where he was throwing out that jab where Anthony Yarde took like a half step back and then came with a strong uppercut where he actually caught Artur Beterbiev very cleanly. But Artur Beterbiev, being the amazing fighter that he is, being the very tough fighter that he is, he gritted his teeth and he was able to withstand those punches, and he was able to continue to go forward and go forward and go forward and start tagging on Anthony Yarde. So near the middle rounds, about the 5th and 6th round, that's when you started to see that both men were really taking a lot of punches or taking some significant strikes. Artur Beterbiev was getting the better of Anthony Yarde, but Anthony Yarde was not giving up at all. There were plenty of times in those fights, a couple of times in those fights, where it looked like he could possibly knock out Artur Beterbiev, where he caught him with a clean, hard shot, and Artur Beterbiev was backing up, and it seems like he was just trying to survive as he got his wits together, and Anthony Yarde was just coming forward, hitting him with some clean, hard shots, coming forward, pushing him up against the ropes. But to Artur Beterbiev's credit, a lot of the times when he was able to do that, he was either able to survive until the round was over, or he conserved his energy by going on the defensive. Once he got his wits together and once he had more energy, he would back into the corner, let Anthony Yarde come to him. Anthony Yarde would be gassing himself out, throwing a lot of punches, hurting Artur Beterbiev, but Artur Beterbiev was taking it. And then once he was in the corner on the ropes, Artur Beterbiev would pivot, turn Anthony Yarde, get him into that corner, and start throwing those quick, hard, sharp combinations. It was a really great fight. Anthony Yarde was showing so much heart. He was showing so much determination. Artur Beterbiev was being the monster that he always is. It was just like it was dope. I ain't gonna lie. It was pretty dope, and I enjoyed every second of that fight. So then near the end of the fight, that's when, you know, due to Anthony Yarde's size, is what I presume, and also due to those hard body shots, because I'm telling you, Artur Beterbiev was ripping Anthony Yarde to the body. He was just every chance that he got, ripping him to the body. And Anthony Yarde was getting some clean shots too, but also Artur Beterbiev had a very strong, stiff power jab that he had been hitting Anthony Yarde with all night, and he managed to open up a cut in Anthony Yarde's face, and he was bleeding down that cut. And also Anthony Yarde managed to open up a cut on Beterbiev's face right underneath his eye as well. But it proved to be like that combination of the sharp body punches that combined with that hard, stiff jab that he was hitting Anthony Yarde with the whole fight, and combined with the fact that Anthony Yarde was using a lot of his energy, doing the very best that he freaking could to, you know, deal damage on Artur Beterbiev. But it did come at a cost. You know, he was getting countered pretty regularly, was getting hit with that stiff jab, and anytime he was on the ropes, Artur Beterbiev would be hitting him with those combinations, because that's when Artur Beterbiev does his work. Once he gets really in there and he gets you onto the ropes, he overwhelms his opponents. He conserves a lot of his energy by, you know, being somewhat not really stingy, but being somewhat economical with his punches when he's getting his opponent to the ropes. And he throws a lot of hard punches, but then once he gets you to the ropes, that's when he really lets his hands go, because that's when he can really get you in range. He basically traps you in his trap up against the ropes, and he just and he was just hitting, he was just beating the hell out of Anthony Yarde. And that proved to be what ended up being Anthony Yarde's downfall. And I don't think that that's any knock against Anthony Yarde. He was just fighting a really good fighter in Artur Beterbiev. I think that Anthony Yarde is still a contender. I think that if he's not too damaged from this fight, he should still continue his career. I think he's only like 32 years old. He's a relatively young man. And he's just like, it was just a great fight. He also showed that he had heart. He also showed he had determination. But he was just fighting someone who had more experience than him. He was fighting with someone who knew how to conserve their energy better than him. He was fighting someone who knew how to where to place their punches better than him. He was fighting someone who was just a little bit better. But it wasn't as if he just got washed. He was really going out there and really making a good showing of himself. So I cannot wait to see Anthony Yarde in another fight. And I know a lot of people say you should never praise someone for losing a fight, but like I said before I even came into this fight, I said I don't see anyone beating Artur Beterbiev. I don't see Dimitri Bivol beating him. I don't see Canelo beating him. I don't see anyone beating him at this point. You know, and that was a great fight, and I think he came very close. I think the only thing that can really beat Artur Beterbiev right now, the Artur Beterbiev that's currently there, is his age, unless there's some type of unknown prospect that just comes up who's just fantastic that I'm unaware of. But it's pretty much going to be his age, because he's pushing 40. But he hasn't really slowed down yet. He only has 18 fights, which isn't too much wear and tear on the body. And a lot of those fights, just like his fight with Smith, he pretty much ended relatively quickly, so he didn't have to take any damage really. But yeah, that's the thing. I can't wait to see. I hope that Anthony Yarde heals up. I can't wait to see what he has next for us. I can't wait to see what fight he has next. I'm massively looking forward to the fight between Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. Like I said, I picked Artur Beterbiev to win. A lot of people say that Artur Beterbiev is a limited fighter. A lot of people say that Dimitri Bivol is the one who has the better ring generalship, who has the better footwork, who has the better defense. And those things are true. But I think a combination of Artur Beterbiev's grit, Artur Beterbiev's power, Artur Beterbiev's ring IQ, and Artur Beterbiev's, just patience. Like, he never seems like he's overwhelmed. Even when he's hurt, he's constantly thinking. He's constantly being like, okay, I'll go on the back foot a little bit. I'll cover up. I'll shell up. I'm going to get my wits together. And he's not just there to survive. He's there to trap his opponent. It's like, once they come here and they come in, I'm going to trap them. Someone like Dimitri Bivol, that would be harder to do because Dimitri Bivol has better footwork. Dimitri Bivol has a better, has good timing. Dimitri Bivol has a long reach. So you saw even when Canelo was doing that, when he was kind of being like, okay, I could keep Dimitri Bivol's beat me, but I'm gonna keep my wits about me. I'm gonna try to lure him into these ropes. Dimitri Bivol didn't fall for that shit. But I think the difference between a Canelo Alvarez and Artur Beterbiev is, one, Artur Beterbiev is bigger than Canelo Alvarez. Two, Artur Beterbiev, in my opinion, hits much harder than Canelo Alvarez at that weight. And three, Artur Beterbiev, once he gets, because there were times where Canelo was able to get Dimitri Bivol into the ropes, and then when he was throwing off his combinations, Dimitri Bivol was able to withstand those combinations. He was able to counter Canelo, and he was able to get off the ropes relatively easily. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Artur Beterbiev because Artur Beterbiev is a lot bigger. Artur Beterbiev is 6'11". He pretty much has a pretty good, I wouldn't say he has a good reach, but he has a better reach than Canelo. And his combinations are a lot faster and a lot stronger, and they carry more power at that weight. So if he gets on the ropes and he lets Artur Beterbiev start, welling on him, Artur Beterbiev is going to get through that guard. Artur Beterbiev is going to hurt him. Artur Beterbiev is going to buzz him. And then once Artur Beterbiev gets you buzzed, once Artur Beterbiev gets you hurt, if you don't have it in you to really, give it back to him, similar to how Anthony Yarde was doing this fight, he's just going to keep coming at you until eventually he breaks you down. So that's how I think that fight's going to go. Now I'm going to give a better, more detailed breakdown of how I think the fight between Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev will go once it's actually announced, because like I said, it's boxing. I'm hoping that, because these guys, they both seem like they really want to be undisputed. They both seem like they really want to be undisputed. So I'm extremely hoping that this fight does get made. But I can't say for sure because it's boxing. So I'm going to save my thoughts on that. I'm going to save my detailed breakdown on that. I'm going to edit that video, put a lot of examples of why I think Artur Beterbiev will win. I'll give examples of what I think Dimitri Bivol needs to do to win. I'm going to study a little bit more of Dimitri Bivol's tape. I'll study a little bit more of Artur Beterbiev's tape. And I'm going to really put a lot of effort into that video. Unlike these videos where I just kind of talk, I'm going to put in that effort into that video just because it's one of the fights that I really want to see really badly. And yeah, and I just want to put, and I know it's going to get, not copyright striked, but it's gonna get copyright claimed. But I don't care, because I don't have any subscribers. I don't make any money off of these videos. I do it just because I like it. I already know I'm never gonna make money off this shit, so it doesn't really matter to me if it gets copyright claimed. So I'll go ahead and just add footage in there and everything, and I'll be sure to give that detailed breakdown. I'm just waiting for that fight to really, be announced, because I don't want to do all that and then have them never fight. That's why I never made a detailed breakdown of Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, because the fight was never announced. So, but yeah, that's all I have to really say about that. That was an excellent fight. I'm looking forward to see whatever either of these two men do. Also, I want to commend Anthony Yarde for staying in there. I want to commend Artur Beterbiev for staying in there, and I really enjoyed it. And that's all I really got to say about that. You all be blessed. I'm out.